we're talking about oneness today. All this month, we've talked about promoting diversity and inclusion. And there is no way that we could exist where we are without coming into the awareness of what those terms mean. The spirit of creation is diversity just by the term creation, because it means that there are so many forms out there, and all we have to do is pick one, and it pops into physical manifestation. And when it comes to inclusion, you can't tell one form or another form, you can't be here, because it came out of creation. And it was created from the words of the psalmist, I am fearfully and wonderfully made by the Infinite One. So, inclusion. The title of my talk for this morning is The Spirit of Inclusion. Please repeat after me. God is.
God is.
I am.
I am.
We are.
We are.
God is.
God is.
I am.
I am.
We are. Oh, now let's change that. God is.
God is.
We are.
We are.
We are. There's no separation, right? It's all there. All of this inclusion means all of us. The Spirit didn't say pick out a certain kind and let that kind only exist here. The creation says, I love all that I have created. So today, let's be the one in the mirror. I love the affirmation for this day because we strive to have dignity and respect for everyone. All of our life, we try that, but sometimes we don't exactly make it there because of the way we were brought up or the limited amount of information that we had available to us. We only acknowledge that which we know. Sometimes we have ignorance about things. Can I share with you a wonderful story by a pretty famous religious scientist who had to come into awareness of this one truth of what oneness really means? May I share that story with you?
Yes.
I want to share a story that William Hornaday, who was a really good Goomba with Ernest Holmes. He walked with Ernest Holmes. He talked with Ernest Holmes. I won't say he slept with Ernest Holmes, but they were really very close in the work that was being done through this wonderful philosophy and teaching. And the story is what the lesson I learned from a Buddhist. In his younger days, William Hornaday was very influenced by his Christian background, his teaching, his living, the life that he lived in that way. Nothing wrong with it. Father was a minister. Grandfather was an evangelist. Went from here to here to here and spread this wonderful teaching wherever he went. So young William decided that he too felt the calling and that he too would become this wonderful Christian minister. And one way of proving that he could do this, he started out with being a missionary to be. And how could he do this? He decided he would go to China and he would teach Christianity to the heathens in China. So he did the necessary things of being able to get there. He was placed in this place where he could actually have real immersion into the Chinese culture. He was placed in the home of a Chinese family. When he arrived there, he had his airs of, I'm this and there that. But he acknowledged the home was a lovely home, and they treated him with kindness, and they treated him with respect. They treated him with courtesy, and they even bowed to him. They made sure that his every need was met, and they ascertained, are you hungry? Are you tired? And they ministered to what his need was. He felt, well, this is a good place for me to begin teaching the heathens. Interesting. But he also discerned, well, they're so nice to me. Maybe they practice whatever this thing is that they have 24 hours a day. All right. The next day, he's up and he's about, and they asked, how was your sleep? And he said, I didn't sleep very well. I kind of tossed and turned, and I just couldn't get into sleep. I was out of my usual environments. So I just didn't sleep well. And the father, the man in the house, said to him, but I have to let you know this. They refused to speak English. They did not speak English. He was totally immersed in the culture. So there had to be an interpreter for him to understand what was going on. So the father of the house said, then we will have you share and spend time with the God of sleep. The house was filled with idols, and he goes over and he pulls the idol, which was the God of sleep. And he said, we will make sure that you're able to sleep very well tonight. He said, would you like to dream? Is there anything that you would like to dream about? And because he was in a new setting, of course there was the longing for home. So he said, oh, home. Well, that night, the God of sleep was placed in his room, and inside of the God was a little piece of paper that had been written on that said, dream home, dream of home. The man, as soon as he put his head on the pillow, went to sleep. And during his sleep, he did dream of home. And he awakened just so refreshed. He had a full night of really good sleep. And he thought, oh, this can't be. You know, it's like, well, I don't know what happened here. Maybe this was just a coincidence. Well, gee whiz, maybe when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Gotta forgive me. Because he had actually followed, this suggestion from a foreign type of heathen thing. Well, his story continues to develop in terms of he had a mission to share his infinite wisdom about his faith tradition. And it was designed to convert these heathens to his way of thinking. But it turned out to be a little bit more than that. There came a time in the interactions between him and the family that the host asked him to tell him. He asked William, please tell me a bit more about this Christianity. And of course, William took the bait and he began to explain all of these things. And he talked about those things that Jesus had taught. One in particular was to love everyone. And that's when the host said, wait a minute. Do you really love everyone? And William says, well, I try. He said, do you really bless them that persecute you? And again, William says, well, I try. And he said, oh, you really have to tell me a whole lot more about this. But William couldn't tell him anymore because all of a sudden he started coughing and coughing uncontrollably. So anyhow, the host said, oh, my goodness, are you angry with anybody? And William says, no. He says, oh, well, if you're not angry with anybody and you're coughing like that, maybe you are under some emotional stress that causes a cold. Is it not true? And William is like, what? What? This is like a real new idea to him. And he reasoned, oh, well, it's new to me, but they've been in this for about 4,000 years. So that idea is kind of like old to them. So anyhow, the host suggested that he join him in a Buddhist tradition service so that perhaps he could be free of this emotional stress that had come upon him. And once again, it's like, no, that goes against my philosophy. So no, I don't want to do this. But as they kept going on in the conversation, he came to a place of, well, okay, I will listen. God will forgive me. I'll listen to what you have to say. And the host at that point says, no, you will tell me yourself what you learned from this. So they were seated on a table or seated on the floor, wherever they were seated. And the host brought out these 2 blocks. Just think like these 2 candles here, and I'm going to use them for the demonstration. And he said, sometimes we have bridges and caverns and stuff in our mind that keeps us from really being involved with spirit the way we should. He says, if you are prejudiced toward anyone, I want you to move these blocks a few inches. So William says, oh my gosh, am I really? And he said, he moved them apart a little bit. Wow. He couldn't believe this. Then the host said, if you are afraid of any person, place, or thing, I want you to move those blocks again, a little further apart. Again, William says, yes, I do have some fear. I am afraid of stuff. So he moved them again. Then he said, the host, if you are guilty over something that you have done in the past, I want you to move those blocks again. He moved them. And then, lastly, well, I have to tell you why he moved them this far apart. Because William said, in the world that I live in, there are so many things that I'm told that I can't do, therefore, and those things are, lots of pleasure and lots of fun, and I can't do them, and I tell you, I really want to be involved. Yeah, I'm guilty of that. That's why you move them so far apart. All right, so the last question that the host said to him was, if you are uncertain about your relationship with the infinite power, with the infinite spirit that is greater than yourself, I want you to move those blocks further apart. And he moved them apart. And for a moment they were there. Then the host said, this is good. You are an honest person. He says, now I want you to take all those thoughts that you have used that has caused the separation to be present in your life. And I want you to begin to reverse those prejudiced thoughts. I want you to reverse those thoughts of being afraid. I want you to reverse those thoughts of guilt and separation, all of that. I want you to reverse them. And Bill Hornaday sit there and said, this man is asking me to do what I've been praying to God for God to do for me. And he's telling me I have to do it myself. And he said he sat there for an hour. And in that hour, he went through his mind and the things that he had been involved in. And he began to do for himself what he asked God to do. He began to let go his sense of separation. He began to let go of the unnecessary fear that he's had around things. He began to let go of guilt that he had for things that he hadn't even participated in sometime, but just wanted to. But his faith, his belief at that time told him it was wrong, therefore you can't do it. So he felt guilty because he wanted to do it. And then he began to let go of the prejudgment because he realized what was going on in this whole dynamic was that this Buddhist was acting more Christian-like than he. Oh. So I'm not calling us a Christian community. I'm not saying that. I'm saying faith and our relationship with God. It has this thing of oneness going along in it, and it has this thing of inclusion going along with it. Because this teacher of this Buddhist thought was able to reach into the spirit, the soul of Bill Hornaday to share the words that he needed to help him to become much more open in heart, in mind, in spirit, such that he could get to where he needed to go. He wanted to be this minister of spirit, and this helped him get there. So we should not build up these walls. We should not build up these thoughts. We should not build up these forms that causes us to believe that we have some kind of separation going on. What is it that we know about oneness? We know that oneness and inclusion means that all participate in the wholeness. There's only one cosmic reality, and that is the infinite spirit of life, and every last one of us are in that life. We are the cosmic reality of oneness. Divine love resides in the one cosmic reality of life, not separate from it. But I have another little tidbit that I want to share with you to drive this one point home a little bit more, because I think it's important for us to know, even in our tradition, sometimes stuff comes up where we put up boundaries. Unfortunately, you may not see them, but they're there regardless. So my talk is for you to see how you can break them down. And you can break them down through the words of our founder. Dr. Ernest Holmes became aware of some discontent and some concern about the people who were coming to hear his lectures. And he was disheartened about that, because he was very much into there's only one life. That life is God. There's one cosmic reality, one nature, just one, and everyone is in it. It is the same for everyone, not looking one way for another and another way for somebody else. It's the same for us all. So Dr. Holmes decided, I need to take care of this, and I will do it right now. So he goes out to give his talk for the day. And as he approached the rostrum, he wasn't so sure what he was going to say. But he stood before the people. And he stood and waited, and people looked, and they were wondering what's going on here. And by the time he really felt now it's time to talk, you could hear a pin drop in the auditorium. But here are the words that he said. I have been told that too many people that are non-Caucasians attend these lectures. True, there are Caucasians and there are non-Caucasians in this congregation. But this is what we affirm, and this is what we must affirm. We are all children of one living God, one life that permeates all without exception, that governs all, and most importantly, every man, woman, or person who abides in the universe is a significant identity in the one universal consciousness. Our doors will forever be open to all. Whoever you are, be proud, because you are a divine idea in the mind of God. Our oneness. Our oneness. In Christian thought, Jesus said, I and the Father are one. If you have seen me, you see the Father. When we see one another, we look into the mirror of who we are. Namaste. The Spirit in me meets the Spirit in you. That is the truth of our reality. That is the truth of who we are. And anything less, I want you to come to me and say, Reverend Carolyn, can I have the blocks? I have some work to do. And so it is. And so it is. So it is. Let us go within. In this moment, I truly give grateful thanks for this word of life, for this word of remembrance, of allowing us to once again to be connected, feeling the divine presence, letting us know that we're always one in the beloved, that we're not separate from one another in any shape, form, or fashion. I accept and know that in this way, we know that we live, move, and have our being in the infinite spirit of life. Therefore, we are one with each other. Each one of us is a divine spark of light, a divine spark of energy, a divine center of consciousness of this awareness. And we allow the light of who we are to shine brightly in this way. So in this day, we embrace and we magnify and show to the world dignity and respect, love and care for one another. We embrace the prosperity of life. We embrace that we live in an abundant universe, that the infinite source of life provide for us in our every regard, that everything that we require for our livingness is here. And so we stand in this place of receptivity. We stand in this place of our connectivity and our interconnection with all of life, truly aware of how blessed we really are. For we know that God is the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. And so we are blessed. And I invite you to join me in closing this treatment. And so it is.
So it is.
Namaste. Thank you. So there is something else that I would like for us to do together. Dan, will you come? And I'm asking the ministers and the practitioners to stand. We want to stand in support of the synagogue and the members of the synagogue in San Diego that experienced this terrible tragedy on yesterday. Because we stand with one another, we will say a chant, we will sing a chant together. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. And it will be a call and response. And I'm going to ask Dan to lead us in that.
So repeat repeat after me.
Everyone, please. And I'd like for you guys to turn around and face them. Yeah.
I will be
Stand,
your
please stand.
standing stone.
I will be your standing stone.
I will stand by you.
I will stand by you.
I will be your standing stone.
I will be your standing stone.
I will stand by you.
I will stand by you.
I will be your standing stone.
I will be your standing stone.
I will stand by you.
I will stand by you. We will be your standing stone. We will be your standing stone. We will stand by you. Beautiful.
Want to do the we?
Go ahead.
Let's just sing it all together.
We will be your standing stone. We will stand by you. Again. We will be your standing stone. We will stand by you.